Designing a product in itself is a challenge. There are many steps that we take at Hatch-22 to ensure a successful product launch. But with the global pandemic that has clouded 2020, we have seen shifts in the way we interact with our clients.
And even our own team. With design and product development being such a hands-on process, how do we maintain social distancing protocols and essentially do the job without being completely hands-on? We want to show you how our small yet mighty team of designers and engineers get it done.
Join us for an inside look at our design process and see how we overcame the struggles of designing during a global pandemic. This is Hatch-22. Previously on Hatch-22. The reason I'm like, oh, this feels kind of natural is because, you know, when you hold it like this, the leverage point is, the pivot point's like up here. Whereas when you do this, well, you're already naturally down here anyway. Right. So, whatever, right?
Yeah. Handle configurations. Right? How can we reconfigure the whole beam basically to distribute the weight a little bit better?
On to the fun stuff now. We're going to start sketching. We're going to start rendering some CAD, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hatch-22. Last episode, Hatch-22 gave you an inside look at their design and engineering audits for the rubbish beam. Through that, they discovered that the handle needs to be reconfigured for a better and more comfortable user experience. Now that they have an idea of rubbish's branding and the beam's pain points, how will they start to develop these different handle configurations? Find out now on episode 3 of Hatch-22.
So in phase 2 exploration, what typically happens is our industrial design team, takes everything from phase 1, all the strategic data, architectural layouts, aesthetic themes, and we basically use it as ingredients to start cooking with. And the designer's way of cooking is to start to sketch. I find this to be one of the funnest parts of the design process myself personally. It's always been one of my favorites, where we start to take what's in our heads and through the mediums of marker, pen, paper, Photoshop, Sketchbook Pro, CAD even, and start to illustrate those ideas in 2D to 3D dimensional space. As a co-founder, and with Hatch-22 starting to really scale its design teams and just the company in general, it has been very hard for me to find the time to sit down and keep up with the team and sketch with them as they're kind of going through it. But admittedly, I selfishly still like to sketch some ideas. So on certain projects, such as this one, I will sketch some concepts just to kind of feed them to the design team, more so at a high level, not so much at like a detailed level, just so they can get a sense of what's going on in my head, and maybe they might be able to find some gems to extract there.
I wanted to sync up between the three of us on the configurations, right? Specifically the two new configurations, and just kind of nail down what we want to explore in phase 2. 2 configurations with 3 concepts, or even 3 entirely different configurations, whatever we think is going to be best to explore the user experience fully, right? And propose to the client. So I don't want to show them any configurations that we think are not going to be good experiences. What do we want to rule out, and what do we want to leave open?
We only show about 3 to 5 concepts to the actual client, but generally speaking, internally we're pumping out anywhere from 20, 30 to sometimes 50 concepts internally that we are choosing from before we distill down to the best. So I think it's a very quick visual communicative language that really allows us to be efficient in kind of turning over every rock. We're currently in a lockdown, and so all of design critique is happening remotely. We use a program, a platform called Miro, which is a digital whiteboard. Obviously you have some trade-offs with not being completely in person, but it's an infinite whiteboard space where you can basically set up digital walls for all the designers, so we can put up our sketches and critique them through, video chatting and live note taking.
We have identified 3 different configurations. We called one is the underarms, so those are the UA labels here. LP was labeled as leaf blower, which is more of the mass under the hand, and then F is squeeze grip. Yeah, the squeeze grip.
I think our team really benefits from using remote tools such as Miro, and just to kind of compare results-wise, we can get pretty close, if not exactly, what we would be doing in person, if not better sometimes too, because with the remote setting, it kind of allows designers who tend to be, I wouldn't say aloof, but they kind of operate on their own schedule sometimes, so the remote positioning of like sketches and ideas really allows for the creativity to kind of flow at their pace.
I think just from looking at the spread, I understand you guys are respecting the architecture, and I get that, but just from an iconic kind of just first read, right. I think these are really successful in terms of positive and negative space. It just draws your eye in of like this loop and what that interaction area is. So I think these are really successful in that sense. Obviously we have to measure ergonomics and things like that, but from a design, graphical, silhouette standpoint, these are really successful. Right. And then just my feedback for some of these other ones that Blake went over, I think they're really successful as well in terms of the playfulness. I'm a 90s kid. I played with Super Soakers and Nerf guns, and like that kind of aesthetic I think is very appropriate here. And I'm like getting those vibes from the little neon sign one that you guys have, but even just the way you bubbly have that pink.
Like the canister effect is definitely
a lot of
that
canister effect, right?
Definitely a lot of Super Soaker influence here.
Emmy's participation during this phase is fairly light and at a surface level. The approach here is industrial design team would consult with the Emmy team whether or not if the concept directions are feasible, and normally Emmy would provide that type of consultation. We don't really dive deep into the details of the design because doing so would hinder the creative process.
In this next phase of work, which is refining and getting CAD details and skinning around geometric volumes, I remember that Rubbish team is working on a custom PCB board. Have they provided those dimensions to us?
No, I don't believe they have yet.
Okay. It could be that it's still under development, but I would check with Rubbish team and see if they have any updates regarding the new PCB board.
Yeah, good call.
Cool.
For phase 2, I really love the creativity that happens there, because that's where we can be a little bit unbound by the confines of reality. We can actually be a little bit wild and innovative, and come up with concepts that are a little bit outlandish, right? And that's what we like to actually do at Hatch-22.
I'd like to just call some attention real quick to this sketch.
It looks like that little guy.
During our review, we're talking to Peter about maybe let's change it. Maybe the handle should just be a vertical thing, right? So we sketched this thing. We're like, hey, let's make an eye, and then Peter just turned it into a whole little dude.
With rendering softwares like KeyShot, it has allowed us to visualize the concept much faster and more efficiently. That is why in some cases, that's definitely not all cases, we use CAD and renders over digital sketches.
I honestly don't know what to expect. I imagine that there's going to be a safe option, the option that they really want us to choose, and the throwaway options. After many years in consulting, I'm familiar with the three-pronged approach. I don't know if that's what it's going to be.
I'm really interested to see novel approaches to integrating that controller and mounting the phone and distributing the weight. I think it's a unique challenge that the team has on their hands, and I really want to see what they'll do with it.
Yeah, so today I'm not feeling too well. I've been having this cough for about 4 weeks now. I got COVID tested, it's negative, but just don't want to take any chances to continue being sick. And I think this is a good stress test for our business and systems to just kind of let the team handle the project for today. And I know that Rubbish is going to be in great hands with Blake and the team. And so yeah, I'm going to let them handle it today so that I can try to recover. It's not something I like to do. I honestly hate taking sick days, especially when it's my own business. But it's just one of those things where my body's just not handling it. So yeah, I'm going to let them handle it and check it out for now.
We're gearing up to show the Rubbish team a collection of concepts that explore different configurations of grips. Right, so what we're going to show them are 6 different concepts that are formatted in different ways. They have different product architecture, right? So there's one that we're calling the squeeze grip, which is kind of a 4-finger interaction where the mechanism is connected to the handle right between the fingers, and you're literally squeezing in a very straight line, right? So there's a straight path of travel. The other is what we're calling the underarm grip, which is kind of like a crutch or a metal detector where the pole comes in under the hand rather than right in the middle of, like the squeeze grip, or above the hand, like their current prototype. Instead, the pole comes in under the hand, and then we also are going to align the electronics housing with that pole right below the arm so that it creates a nice counterbalance, right? And then lastly, what we're calling the leaf blower grip, which, much like a leaf blower or many power tools, centers most of the weight right below the hand, which kind of serves to counterbalance and create security, right? A nice secure grip. So that's what we're going to show them for this next presentation, and we're going to get a feel for what they think is going to work best for their users and what they like best. And we're not just showing the configurations, we wanted to actually design some concepts so they can visualize it with their rubbish beam, right? Because we can show them examples of products on the market all day, but you can't really visualize that in the context of your own product. So that's what we're going to show them, is what that might look like for each of the day, or for each of these configurations in their specific context.
I would like to preface this by saying, these are very, very rough kind of sketch concepts. You could almost think of these as pen and paper, doodles, except we did manage to get them into a 3D space so that we could render them for you a little bit more, like slightly higher fidelity, but they're still very rough, sketch concepts. So things like, overall proportions could still change a bit. Things like trigger ergonomics definitely will change substantially. So triggers and handles, we intend to do more of a deep dive on ergonomics there. We decided to sketch under 3 grip configurations, actually. So you have a little bit of work to do on your decision.
As usual, I'm happy that they presented us with a couple of options, and and the whole team at Hatch-22 and Blake showed us, all the considerations, all the different configurations they went through. They narrowed it down to 3 for us, and kind of gave us the pros and cons.
On the design side, how did you guys, for some of these concepts, how did you try and mimic the weight and ergonomics? I know you have you had a couple of Amazon links that for devices that are similar, but did you then on those strap a phone on top or something like that? I'm just wondering. I'm asking because I would want to I don't know, to the best of my ability, try and mimic and approximate the weight distributions of some of these things.
Right. I can say we didn't do a lot of that at this stage. We save that kind of for ergonomic development. I understand your concern, actually, and we may be able to go back and try to approximate that if it's going to be a major decision factor for you. At this stage, our intention was to get more of a visual style. and drive the design from that angle. So that's kind of what our goal was, and that's why we didn't do a significant amount of mock-ups or ergo testing.
Not being able to feel it and feel the weight of the new designs and the weight distributions was a little bit worrying, but in the end I have faith in the team to make the right decision.
What we planned, we kind of pushed hard to get you these concepts before the break so that you guys could have the full holiday, and if you need a couple days after the holiday, once you're all back in the same place to go over it, that's totally fine. We are a little bit behind of our original schedule, which I think I've already communicated to you via Slack. So it's not a big deal as long as you're okay with us being a little behind. We're fine with it. I'd just bring it up now because we can't really move forward until we have a decision at this point. So the ball's in your court, but no pressure from us. You can take the time you need.
Personally, I also liked one of the squeeze concepts. There's like a circle, the one with the circle, a negative space in the middle, and then you have the little squeeze handle. I think concepts like that are really iconic, and so obviously there's like ergonomics and things to be considered, but I think one thing I've learned early on in my design career is when you stick with very simple geometric shapes and you kind of accentuate the positive and negative space, you can really get really iconic silhouettes that really stand out in people's minds.
All the concepts we've presented were favorable for different reasons. But if I absolutely have to choose one, I think it's the squeeze grip. Squeeze grip was surprisingly ergonomic and very comfortable to use. And at the same time, we've seen a lot of potential within the squeeze grip to be able to make a very iconic, playful design, and at the same time being able to design a product that is very different than any of the trash picker-uppers out there in the market.
So we saw our first batch of designs, and I think I love several, so I have to trim that down. It's very hard to evaluate a physical thing without touching it, and we're so used to our beam and what it feels like that it's going to be interesting trying to figure out how something is going to feel without actually feeling it. But the designs are incredible. Some we love, or some I love. We'll see.
We are looking at this and evaluating which concept to go forward with. So this is the PDF that they gave us.
So I think we could all agree with eliminating top left.
Yeah.
From the mechanical side, I don't see any huge problems. The only thing is that phone being pretty high up. I'd like to see what they could come up with to kind of mitigate that.
I think I've come back and looked at these designs. For me, like, the biggest fear I have in going with the bottom left is that it looks the closest to what we think our design is right now, and I am concerned about the constant bobbing against that thing.
I'm not against either of these. I kind of like both. If we could suspend disbelief and say that the trigger mechanism somehow will work out. I do like both of these, and probably S1 a little bit more.
And then the leaf blower concepts, I think this shape here, this Y in particular, interests me, and having the hand kind of in this relaxed position. I like this. I don't like this bubble at the bottom at all. Like, I don't think it needs to live there. I think
it kind of feels like a weird sex
it's like a tumor.
Yeah, I thought that too. I didn't want to, after saying suppository, I didn't want to say sex toy, but I was like, I'm not going to say it.
I'll say it.
But I'm glad that they went through all these combinations, but it was a little bit hard for me to tell, through a Zoom call, how this would play out in real life. So it was really, I just had to defer to the team at Hatch-22 to see and take their word for it to see what would work best.
I think this one was my favorite between these two and in general.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. Basically, no change, like aesthetically and practically.
Think of it that way.
Yeah. It's definitely helpful.
I think there's something nice about everyone thinking that this is a video game and us making it a little bit more like a controller and less like a picker-upper.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, if you were just doing aesthetics of all of them, which one's aesthetics did you like the most?
Bottom left.
What, white circle?
Still bottom. Oh, okay.
I would say white circle.
I'll be torn between circle, one of the circles, and bottom left. All right. It seems like we're down to our 2 finalists.
Bottom left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like here, it's clear, like, you know, my thumb is there.
3 fingers.
4. You know, I'm somewhere like that, and my wrist is extending that way.
So after the team came back with the concepts, I evaluated everything that came in, and the thing that struck me the most in the beginning ended up being the choice I wanted to go with, and that was UA2, the underarm concept. And it had some of the qualities that we were really looking for, like that arm support. Like after having used this thing for hundreds, maybe thousands of hours, it made sense.
It took them a little while to deliberate and come to a decision, but they finally ended up going with one of our specific underarm configurations. And I'm glad they did. I think that's the right way to go. It also has a lot of room to play and refine. So this is going to be exciting.
For me, I agree with the client. I think Rubbish has it right when they're selecting the underarm concept. I think measuring pros and cons of all concepts, because all of them have pros and cons. I think that one has the best balance.
So I think the underarm is a very low-risk design. It provides a lot of support in terms of grip and stability. So I think that their selection is on point. I think there's ways where we can balance edginess and fun and gamification along with usability and ergonomics.
So for this project, we structured it a little bit differently. So what we're going to do next is take this concept and do micro iterations on it. This is a little bit different from our typical phase structure where sometimes we'll show a lot more concepts in a phase 2 and then we'll do a phase 3 where we refine one concept and really detail it. In this case, we're doing kind of a 2-part phase 2 where we showed them 6 different concepts for the first part of phase 2, and then they picked one, and then we're going to micro iterate and we're going to show them 3 more concepts based from that starting point that they can then again choose. And then we're not going to do a refinement phase after that. We're just going to hand it straight to our engineering team so they can start to develop it in real life, make it real.
As you saw, sketching and ideating amongst the design and engineering teams is an important part of the design process because it allows both teams to uncover potential issues and solutions earlier on in the process. Now that the Rubbish team has selected the underarm concept to move forward with, how is the Hatch Duo team going to refine and ultimately bring that design to life? Find out next time on Hatch-22. Remember to turn notifications on and subscribe to our channel for alerts on the next episode drop. We'll see you guys next time.